5:20, I'd like to call the Park and Rec meeting to order. I'd like to stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Of the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda?
No.
For a motion to adopt the agenda? I'll make that motion. Made the motion? Bernie?
Okay.
Second?
Yep.
John? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Public input? Nobody here. Atten Stadium Foundation. Ginger.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of go around 5 and 6 together a little bit because they do kind of work together. But as you know, two groups have approached us and requested a considerable amount of money to go to two different projects. The first, speaking of the Hatton Stadium Foundation request, the Hatton Stadium Foundation has been very active in really doing a great job putting the stadium back together. They have, Chad can probably quote the amount that they have put into that. Don't know it off the top of my head, but to redo the field, the sound system, and they have some money. They're not currently fundraising right now. They do not have any sort of plan to do that, but they do have some money that they would like to continue to invest into the stadium. And one of those projects would be this Holton Brothers project here for working on the exterior restoration of the actual stadium itself. The stadium is in rough shape. I was underneath it last night and it's wet and it's leaking. I was able to see it as it was happening during the rain, and it's not going to last long if the rain continues to flow underneath that stadium like it did yesterday. The total project for that is $250,000. The foundation's coming with a direct request of us splitting it into thirds with the high school or the school district, sorry. So it would be about $84,000 a group. It's, you all know, it's our asset to make sure that we keep. I am just afraid that if somebody were to hear that we were not going to keep that facility in shape, they'd be very upset with us. But speaking of one of the members here on our committee, so the other request, just a little history, was the tennis courts. Bob and Tim and Chad and I sat down with Scott Black and Joe Marquardt with the school district. We talked a little bit more about that. And we also talked to them about the Hatton Stadium project. It's all out in the open now that we're all asking for money. And that was when they requested that we have my friend Judy here to kind of give us an idea of where we're at with the capital project list. And as you all know, it's the city as a whole's capital project list. It's not just Parks and Recreation. So that's a chunk of money to just dole out to everybody and anybody. So without further ado, Judy can go through those numbers for you.
Okay, so Ginger had talked to me. She came in, well, we've been talking at least a couple months already about the tennis court project. And when we're looking at any capital, like Ginger said, we have to go back. You can't be thinking about projects without taking a look at where we are today with bonding and with our street projects. So we have to look at everything as a whole when we're making decisions about moving forward and people requesting money for projects. So I got together with Robert, actually, myself, Luke, Chad, Robert, a number of us got together with the engineers. And they updated our numbers for a number of road projects that we're looking at in the next 5 years, actually. So before you today is an updated version of those road projects. I did add the parking lot to the downtown project at $400,000. And you can see, and I updated Lyons, Lima, and Avon. That's the current dollar amount anticipated at 1.74 million. And then we have Lucas Court, which we have no estimate for, and that's in Eastridge. I think contractually obligated to do something there in the near future, just so you know. St. John's Place, Lincoln Court, State Street have all been updated with the engineers. And so, you know, this is general fund dollars on this side. What I did is I put the actual wastewater treatment plant or the main part of those projects over on the right-hand side. So right there on that side is how much we have available on the wastewater treatment plant side. And then that portion that would be attributed to the wastewater treatment plant. So we have enough there to close in, you know, $130,000 to work through St. John's Place, Lincoln, State, and downtown. And as we know, those first three are knocking at our door, and we're looking at going into those 3 streets next year to get the downtown ready for the North Water Street project so that we can have access into our downtown for the businesses. Okay. So we are looking currently at the bonding for 2023, 2024, anticipating that we're going to need to do that bonding sooner than later in 2023, and in talking in conjunction with the utilities, that would probably work better for them also. So we're at $5 million with our new estimates. And every month or every year that goes by, well, hopefully inflation will settle down here and things will even out over time. But you know that these numbers are going up as time goes on. So when we look at a project in conjunction with a school district, or Hatton Stadium is actually our facility, we also need to keep in mind where we're at with our bonding at this time. We know that Mill Street, a lot of that is sanitary. So just so you realize, but keeping it on this side allows you a little bit of flexibility as those rates go up. I wouldn't remove it at this time until we're real sure where those numbers are coming in. And also Oshkosh Street, you know, that's 2 years out yet. That's an estimate at this time and has been moved up from our last estimate, actually almost $1 million. So here's where we are today with bonding. And then if you want to turn to the next page, this is our current audit, our 2021 audit. And down at the bottom of this page, you will see that we are our general obligation debt. So down just a little bit further. So in accordance with state statutes, our general obligation debt cannot exceed 5% of our equalized value. All right, so our current debt capacity at the end of 2021 last year is $22 million, 22.5. Our total general obligation debt outstanding as of the end of the year was 10. So if you subtract a third of that, which Ellers will tell you to, you know, not fully use your capacity of debt, it allows you to get better interest rates. Then we're at 15 million. That puts us at 4.7 million capacity in debt. Now just keep in mind, we'll pay off another $1 million over the next 2 years. So by the time we go into the downtown project in bonding, our $5 million is already accounted for. So when you're making decisions, this is just information only, as far, you know, as looking at other projects. what you need to be thinking about when we're looking at helping contribute to tennis court and or the Hatton Stadium projects. So another thing that you need to consider when you're looking at, in particular, the tennis courts is that the school district is made up of more districts than just the city of New London. So if we're looking at contributing to those tennis courts, our citizens are paying twice. They are paying within the school district tax capacity, and then they are paying within the city of New London tax capacity, because I would bond for that money. So unless they're going to consider other taxing jurisdictions, I would definitely consider putting the dollars in Hatton Stadium, which is our facility, and backing off on the tennis courts. Maybe even thinking about other considerations at Hatton Stadium and taking on that responsibility ourselves as it is our asset, and allowing them to not be a player in that game. The tennis courts are already at 350,000. They'll be $500,000. That's a really old estimate that's sitting on those books. So just so you know where I believe that will fall into place, more than at 350,000, be closer to $500,000. Our Hatton Stadium, we're talking 125,000. That's a very current estimate that they're looking at right now. So just some thought processes. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just thinking, as you think about things, I want to educate you, or revisit all the other projects that we have decided that we want to move forward on. And then if you decide that that's more of a priority than something else, then we will just, revisit what that's going to look like in the future.
And I think this comes at a really good time that we're all looking at our budgets for next year and the projects that we have on hold. A couple other projects that we need to start thinking about is Hatton, the shelters and getting those ADA accessible. That money was supposed to be budgeted for that, has went to the Avon, the all project. So that will, we do need to start working on getting our park shelters ADA accessible so that they see that we're doing those projects. But like Judy said, this is all just information for you guys to kind of chew on in the history of where we're at right now. So,
Ginger, no.
yes.
And Judy, when you're saying we should put the money to the Hatton Foundation, what about if the school district can't pay their third, we can't pay our third, then what happens then? Say the school says, okay, we can't afford to pay any money for the Hatton Foundation. Where does that leave us at?
Eventually that building will be all on the city's shoulders. And I foresee that happening within the next maybe 10 years, unless something really changes.
Have any of you guys been under the stadium?
Oh, yeah.
I stood under there in the rain yesterday.
5 years ago and it was wet. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what it was like yesterday. We need to,
It
If
is
we
actually
let that
worse now
stadium
than it
go-
was then.
So
we're
that,
gonna be on stakes.
Right. what is it, 250,000? So
Yep.
I think the Hatton Stadium Foundation is looking at half.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
But they wanted to do
125?
third with the school district, but I think that if it was something, if it was all in my thought process, I would definitely want to put all my eggs in that basket.
What I'm saying is, can we afford to give them the half? The school district's share and our share
Oh,
to the foundation? That's what I'm saying. That's the
Right.
point I was getting at. Can we afford to do that? I understand that going to Hatton Stadium, I'm 100% that should be our number one priority. Can
mhm.
we afford to do the half? That's my question.
We can certainly, if that is your direction that you would like me to take a look at, we can certainly move forward in looking at our capital and adding it to that bonding in 2023. 100 and so a third of 250, so $275,000. versus a 500,000. And it's our stadium. At the end of the day, we insure it. It's in our park.
End of the day, it needs to stay standing.
Right. It's a historic value that is second to none in the
So-
county.
So I guess what we're hearing is we would rather direct the money to the Hatton Stadium. Do we need a motion for this or anything, or to,
Think we'll need eventually somebody to direct me to, decline something to the school district because they are waiting for our response. And whatever that message is, you would be directing me to give that message to them.
Why are they so against a 50-50 split on the tennis courts? I don't understand. Because we have plenty of tennis courts for our citizens to use.
They cannot compete on our courts right now. And when they practice on our courts, they're not up to par with a standard that would be a competitive court.
And I
Yeah.
understand, but why are they so against the 50-50 split is my question.
They're not
They're-
against, they want, yeah, that's what they're
Oh.
looking for.
The request is 50-50.
Or 65-35.
It was 65,
Well, it was
35 or so.
65-35 in 2018.
At this point in time, the school district declined my recommendation to split the cost 50.
That was in 2018. Those are the old minutes from Chad's meeting in 2018. I was just giving you some history.
Oh,
So that's when we proposed to them that they split 50-50 our courts, they declined that request. So then we suggested a 65-35 and they declined that as well. And then it stood as is.
So the city was looking at getting
We
those
wanted to do the
tennis
same
courts,
thing,
yeah,
but
in compliance.
Right.
So that they could hold meets here, state meets is what they were
Right.
looking for.
we had a couple options at that time too.
yeah,
I remember
Yeah.
Chad with what services that we were gonna put on the courts. And
Right.
Some of them didn't meet their standards.
right.
I was just kind of confused when we had our meeting with Scott, we talked about putting tennis courts at the school
Mhm,
and doing a 1/3,
Yep.
1/3, and maybe 1/3 fundraising. You
mhm.
thought maybe some of the tennis organizations would step up and donate. And then,
Right.
so I don't see an option, or is that dead in the water? They did not want to do that? Because it was going to be 1/3 city, 1/3 school, and then they were going to try to do 1/3 fundraising.
Think that they would take anything that we would give them. But
But I realize if we don't have the
Process.
money, I mean,
Right.
tennis courts are
That's
the
the
last thing that we need
process,
to
and
do, but
that's
that
kind of-
stadium needs to be saved. I
Right.
mean, that's bottom line.
and that's kind of where I went
The
with
school
it.
district does use the stadium for their,
Right.
baseball or whatever. It'd be only fair that we all kick in.
Right,
And like Judy was saying, it's not fair to the people in London because the school district is all around out here and we're paying for the tennis courts. They're not contributing anything. So anybody that lives out of the city is not paying anything for that tennis courts. It's all on us people right in town. Judy said it's almost like double dinging the taxpayers.
It is.
That's the same if we're going 1/3 with them as well.
Sure.
anyway,
Same
any
thing.
money that we contribute to them.
So Ginger, just for this write-up right here, was that
That's
from my?
yours.
Okay, that's my memo back
Yes,
in 2000.
yes.
got it. That's
Yep.
what I was-
So this is.
I was
from-
just
that
giving
was your
all the
memo.
history, so you're all, yep, that's not me.
So that's
2008.
my memo from
2018
or something. yes.
2018, yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
And one of the things that Ginger had brought up when we were having our discussion was that the city will have tennis courts yet available within the park system.
That's kind of where I
Other-
was getting at too. is we have
other-
tennis
That we will
courts.
also still need to maintain and upkeep
We can put blacktop on them.
at the cost of, yeah.
So what, the direction, I guess, are we looking for a motion or whatever to tell the school we can't afford to help them. And we're gonna we're gonna put the money towards the Hatton Foundation.
If that's the consensus of the discussion.
Does that sound right to everybody? I mean, do I have a consensus that everybody thinks that we can't afford, it's one of the two. We can't afford both. So it's either
I would just say at this time, we can't. commit
we can't afford it.
That's a good way to put
I mean,
it.
at this time, we can't commit to it. We have way too many projects out there.
Right, so
Inflation, we have
looking
no
at-
idea what this stuff's gonna
Yeah.
cost.
Right.
Looking at our
this-
long-term
excuse me.
construction projects, we are already knocking at full capacity for bonding in 23. So at this time, there's no capacity within that bonding to add additional funding until at least 2027. Because that's when we're looking at the second phase of downtown Pearl Street, and that would be the next time we would bond.
Judy, not to put you on the spot,
Yeah.
but for 2027.
I don't know how much you people, all of you know about Hatton Stadium, but that was built in the DPW days, okay? It was
Mhm.
completed
30s.
in 1935. And it has been used as a baseball and a football stadium from the high school for many, many years. And with no help from the school system whatsoever, okay? And that goes back now, what, 80 years? Okay. And so you're sitting there, one of the things is my understanding that's a historical site, okay? So you got to be careful what you can do with it,
Mhm.
okay? And if we let it go, the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to get tore down. Okay, and it's the only real hardball field in the city, okay? We've got 18 parks in this city, but there's only one really good hardball surface. And, you know, so far, if you look back at 80+ years of the high school students playing Legion ball, and that's what it's for, okay? Over the last 80 or 85 years, whatever that is, that's a lot of boys that got service taken care of. Now, just so you also know, some of you may not know, I assume Ginger does by now, is that the American Legion is just passed a program to develop girls softball. And they expect to put that in place this coming spring, not this spring, but the following. spring.
2023, yep.
And as you also know, there's about 4,000 Legion teams in this country. And so it's, you know, I'd hate to see that stadium go. Okay, it's really the history of this community. I've got a picture of that 1934 team in my briefcase.
Cool.
Okay, and I can identify everybody but one person. And that's going to go to the Historical Society eventually. Thank you.
I guess what we're want to direct make a motion that we decline school helping the school. I don't know, we're looking for a motion or yeah, I guess I would say, I don't know word this,
Yeah.
decline the tennis courts.
At this time, we cannot.
We can't afford to help the school with the tennis courts. We're gonna direct our attention to the Hatton Stadium. But I would guess I would look for a motion to that effect. I'll make the motion, somebody can second it. I'll make the motion that we tell the school we can't afford to help them at this time, and we're gonna direct our funds or whatever to Hatton Stadium.
I'll second that.
Yes. Okay, the motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Does anyone have any other questions before I? We'll be going through those projects again tomorrow at finance. So if anyone has any questions or thinks of something through the night. Thank you.
Yeah, next one, I guess, is a youth sports agreement discussion. I talked to Ginger a little bit about this, he brought it up. And I read through the agreement and I don't see anything in there really to talk much about. My only concern, and I heard the complaints about it, was the prepping of the diamonds on weekends. and I guess it all come up because of that one rain delay,
Mhm.
because before that, we'd never heard anything about it, but if we only do them once,
Right,
there's no issue.
right.
So I really, and if they wanted us to do them the second time, then it would be up to the club or whoever's handling the tournament to pay for the overtime unless they wanted to do them themselves.
Right.
So at
So just a little clarification on that. And he's talking about on page, on the fee schedule chart. I have weekend game full prep without overtime, and that is without our staff staying longer than they typically would to groom the ball diamonds. Because from the research that I've done, most cities do one field prep a day, and then the clubs take over as the tournament goes on throughout the rest of the day. If there was a day that they wanted, say it was a special tournament or something like that, where they wanted the fields groomed, regularly throughout the weekend, maybe twice or 3 times a day, then it would be the overtime and bringing somebody in at actual cost. I spoke with Dale Stern from youth baseball and Carrie Tenney from youth softball. Just clarified those things. They asked about, what is actual cost? It's hard to determine that because sometimes we have our park superintendent that's the only one that can do it that day, and he makes much more than the seasonal staff that comes in at $9 an hour to do it if that's all we have. So I can't really give an actual cost, but that's determined as on-call staff's hourly wages. Clubs are given and pay for supplies at the beginning of the season. So the only would be additional supplies if needed. Typically, there aren't any additional supplies because we're using what they already have gotten at the beginning of the season. So that was just a little clarification on that question that Bob had. So what I did with this is we have a variety of different policies already in place, or not necessarily defined policies, but definitions. There is a policy that's spoken about in here with the sign policy where they're searching for sponsorships, and then they have the signs out in the outfield. So that's talked about in here. And then also the fee policy that does mimic our fee schedule for the Washington Center gym use. That's already assessed, and open field use that's already been assessed and approved through council at the beginning of every year. So along with the Hatton Stadium I see here. So those are all not just numbers that I threw out of the air. Those are actually approved fee schedule fees. So.
anybody have any other questions? Dave, you guys?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I hate actual cost.
I know,
Can
but
we
it's.
just put a
so-
number on there that say it is loop related.
That's a lot more than saying that one of the
I
seasonal staff
understand
does
that
it.
that would make these organizations think twice about calling you guys because it rained a little bit. Maybe get out there and get their feet dirty.
That's totally up to you guys.
I don't like actual costs. So if you did like a
Okay,
hourly rate
sure.
would be better.
I could even
that
do
was
like an
actually planned
average or
ahead.
something.
You
Yeah,
know, if I'm running a tournament and you tell me it's gonna cost you $150 to send Luke down there.
Right.
Luke's coming down.
right. Yeah. Okay, Yep.
It'll actually help the organization's plan.
I appreciate
If there's
that.
an actual cost associated with.
You bet.
What it would cost, instead
Mhm.
of just saying man hours, that doesn't help us.
Sure. I
This
can
is just
throw,
a discussion item anyway, so we don't
Yep.
have to have any action on it.
right.
So, yeah, that's, Ginger can take care of that, talking to the other things, and we can just,
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if Carrie brought it up with you about the garbages.
No,
Well, I think we we're talking to Chad about that. It wasn't even with you.
Yep.
Um,
Dave's got to talk to you about that.
hi, I'm right here. What do you want to
look
talk to me
into
about?
What it would cost for the organizations to pay the city to empty the garbages on, what did we think? You were in that conversation.
Whatever
Chad.
days, if it's Sundays or whatever,
Yeah,
you know,
Monday, basically Monday. Because that is
basically an extra charge to come and dump the
'cause you have
garbage
the
can,
trucks
so
that'll
they don't have
actually
to do
pick
it.
them up.
Yeah.
We have hands that actually pick them up.
So on what day? Like, do you want that
Like
during?
your regular, like a
Oh,
regular work day.
yeah.
Like on a Monday morning, we would line them all up
Uh-huh.
and then the city would come down and whatever that costs for that guy to come and empty them.
I'm just trying, well, isn't that already, I mean, it's not done. I mean, it's
Nope.
done as they can right now, so I can only see it being even harder for staff to get there. They're scheduled, to do it. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to put them in a position to fail. And
So they already empty them on Monday?
they're supposed to, they don't, it's not a set date, but they do make their rounds. I mean, we have a guy that's strictly on garbage.
Right. But
So
after our tournaments that Monday,
make sure that,
it would
yeah,
have to be, you know what I'm saying? It would be that Monday
Right.
because they would be full.
yeah,
See them going through the boat launch on Monday.
yeah. They
That
do,
must-
they do
yeah.
Monday, Tuesdays is their garbage round days. But
We are actually, the organizations are required to empty them Sunday night, so he's not really doing a whole lot on,
I
not
see,
supposed to be doing a whole lot on
Right.
Monday
right,
after our tournaments.
I see.
We want to push that off where he does do it because
I
then
see.
it costs really whatever it costs. They just want to know
Yeah.
what the cost would be because that is probably the worst.
actual cost. Yeah, I
Or
can.
whatever the fee
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Don't put actual
Right,
cost. Just put
I know, yeah, I know, that's why,
They just want a number.
huh.
We can look into that.
I can talk to Luke about it. I just know that he's gonna say, how am I gonna get that done?
If he's already emptying garbages, what? if they're
Right,
already doing
I
it on
know,
Monday
I
and
know.
He's not doing anything extra.
Right, that's what yeah,
We're actually physically gonna line them up
right. Okay,
right at the end of the parking lot. So
yeah,
It's not like he's gotta walk through the park and grab them and stuff. It's, we
right,
can get them there. It's,
yeah,
I'd like to see a trial period of that is. what the
Yeah.
Workload is actually gonna be before we make that up.
Right. yeah,
Because like you're saying, Jenny, you're always gonna say, when am I gonna find time to do that?
right,
Maybe the time is only 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but maybe in actual it's an hour and a half.
yeah.
So what are we actually talking?
I'll run it by him and see. I mean, yeah,
Or next time they have a tournament, have the guy go out there and see how long it takes him.
That's what I mean. That's-
Right.
Sure.
yeah,
Sounds, and then come back, then come back to you guys with the cost and you guys can make up your mind, what
yeah.
you want to do it by hand or
I know, they're big, awkward, yeah.
get things that.
And the
shouldn't be in there.
dumpsters are so
And it was
big.
About 9:30 and I was dumping 25
Uh.
garbage cans and I looked at Carrie and I said, I don't care what it costs. I'm not doing
I was
it."
just gonna say. they
Have
just wanted to
Gratian
think
come in.
about that.
Or-
It's
Yep,
a lot. And
okay,
especially when you don't have board members that can lift them up.
yes.
Anybody got anything else on the youth sports agreement?
I would just like to say Ginger did an awesome job of putting all that together.
Thank you. Yes. I appreciate that.
Director's report.
Just a few things that I want to touch base on, and I know that I had in here, that I had been working on our 4th of July celebration and wanted to present to you that it was a success. It was not. Unfortunately, I'm just gonna clear the air right now. We had a lot of weather to deal with. And if you need to tell constituents what happened, this is what I can tell you is that they got wet and his equipment got wet. He had a full board that did not ignite. So you saw half a show. And there was an entire other half that he had to load and take home with him wet. And his board is probably ruined from sitting out. And yeah, it was disappointing for me too. So I was up all night long. So it was an interesting celebration, and I learned a little from it, and I know Rich learned a little from it, and he he apologized and said that next year will be, if it's not raining all day, it will be different. And then if it is raining all day, it will be postponed. So that was his words.
Well, Pack had the same problem, huh?
And I did notice that spending my entire evening on Facebook last night, unfortunately, that Wapaka had the exact same issues. And they sit down in a bowl around Shadow Lake, and the fog took over the actual lights. So they didn't even get any show. So our show was this much better than Wapaka's. So yeah. Other than that, just based off of everything that I have in here, it's very wordy. I can appreciate that. But a couple other things that I want to touch base on. We did finally hire somebody for our full-time parks caretaker position. We have one more position to fill. We'll be revisiting. We revisited and we do have a scheduled interview for that based off of the initial posting. And then just last but not least, but July is National Parks and Recreation Month. So I want to take a moment just to commend all of our staff. As I say in here, I have been in this role since I was 15 years old. Not in this role, but in Parks and Recreation since I was 15. All of you that are involved in youth sports and things like that can appreciate that. And just knowing that we and this committee and Jane and Luke and the lifeguards at the pool and Jim and Morgan all shape this community and make it what it is. So I'm certainly grateful for all of them, and we will be having a lunch for them at the end of the month, and we'll invite you all there. So other than that, you can read through my report. And then with that being said, I do have one service announcement that Luke is 7 years in on July 28th. So if you see him around, congratulate him on his time around the city. And that is all.
You have anything on the Wolf River cleanup?
I do not.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Do you?
That was, I think it's the third.
It's,
the
yeah,
third, Saturday.
yeah,
We're gonna do the Wolf River cleanup. So if
Yep.
anybody wants to ride along in the boat.
yeah.
and see what's done.
And the river
Johnny
is
said it's a
plenty
fun-
low.
What,
I think Johnny said it's the 23rd.
the 23rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not this coming weekend, the following weekend.
Yeah, and the river's nice and low, so it'll be a good time to do that.
So
We
anybody
started at
want to give
7 o'clock.
money, there's a lot of stuff laying.
Yeah, yep, yep.
So if anybody's interested in that, they can come
Yeah.
down to the boat launch at 7 o'clock and go for a boat ride.
You bet. We'll have lunch for them at the,
Cut that
down at the
cable
cutoff,
crossing.
yep,
Yeah.
cable crossing.
Mr. Bisa, before we move on, I'd also like to recognize Ginger for the fireworks.
Oh.
There's a lot of time and effort that goes into that, a lot of planning and a lot of decisions had to have been made. You know, we all understand that wasn't an easy task and very stressful. What you wanted to do because you wanted to give the citizens what they wanted. And
Right.
I thank you for your time and efforts that went into that.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything? Any
Yeah,
committee members?
I got just a little update on the Hatton Stadium or Memorial Foundation over
Memorial
there.
Foundation.
We did get lights put on those murals now, okay, and they had to be adjusted slightly.
Mhm.
But they were absolutely great. You drive down there at night, at 11 o'clock at night, and you can see everything. It's really perfect. And I want to thank
Belial.
yeah,
Oh, BNH.
BNH.
The
Lighting out of
NH lighting,
Hortonville.
yep.
Uh,
Jeremy Belial.
Jeremy Belial, yep, and he asked me to see if I could get a picture made with a thank you for him because he donated the cost for it.
He did, yep.
What's going on yet? We talked about at some point in time about the shelter over the picnic tables. Luke made arrangements to get the diggers hotline out there. The city's gonna remove the cement and Mr. Peterson from Peterson Construction is expected to start next Monday. It's probably gonna take no more than 2 weeks or so. And then there's only one thing left, and that's to get lights put on the latest editions of the walls with the names on them. And
Okay.
Carl Sternhagen has promised to have those in by July, and he's made arrangements for somebody, the same person that did the original walls, to put them in at no cost.
Nice.
And
That's
after
great.
that, I intend to turn it over to that lady.
Yay.
Thanks a lot, Jim. You guys
No.
did a good job down there.
Yeah, yep. And
Very nice.
yeah, I'm glad that it's all worked out.
Future agenda items. I guess we had a couple things you had to.
Yeah. I can have this draft finalized for the youth sports with the fees on it because those fees will have to be approved
You get to talk to the school.
in school. Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that I know that we should have on our radar because last year we had our meeting during National Night Out. And that is our August meeting. And it's August 2nd at 4:30 and it's here at the municipal building. So I think that we should reschedule that so that you guys can,
August
participate.
meeting?
yep, because I know Bernie, you guys participate in that and yeah, and I'd like to be there.
So should we piggyback with you guys on, are you on Monday then?
You want to do the same roundabout like we did this meeting?
I see no problem. I don't know of anything stupid.
Is that all right with you?
that-
Right, we
Rather
kind
do them both on the first.
Right.
of, we kind of look at doing that again next month. We'll follow the public works set instead of, yeah, because we don't want to be down here on Tuesday.
Right.
Does that sound all right with everybody?
Do, what time?
We'll follow you guys. You guys, you start at 4:30, we'll follow you.
Same as tonight?
Can we make it 4:45?
Sure.
It's tough for me to get here by 4:30.
I don't care. It doesn't,
That's
it's up to
fine.
Mike. It's his
I
meeting.
mean, yeah, I'm not on the committee, but it does make it tough for me to get here by 4:30.
No matter to me.
That's fine. 5:45. Is that all right with you, Mike?
4:45.
You guys will start at 5:45 and we'll,
4:45.
or 4:45, I mean, yeah, right. We'll follow you guys then.
I
Okay.
appreciate that.
That works.
As long as Public Works Committee has no problem.
Here. Oh, here. Half of them anyway.
But, yeah, so I see no problem.
All right, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
Motion by Bernie to adjourn. John second.